You are not going to believe this. 6.5 years ago, I completely planned the business that I have right now. I help established professionals who have YouTube channels take their audience into a paid school community doing the same exact thing they do on their YouTube channel for free. Of course, you're not going to believe that because it's not true. There is no possible way that I could have seen this business 6.5 years ago. And if you are someone who is looking for certainty right now, thinking that your business that you start today is going to be your forever business, this is the video for you. And I want you to watch it all the way through. And yes, this video is going to break a lot of the YouTube rules, but I promise you that if you stick with me, I will help you understand that starting is the move, not planning out the entire business. And if you are someone who has an existing YouTube channel built around the thing that you're really, really good at, that you've been doing for decades, I don't care if you have 1,000 subscribers, I don't care if you have 700,000 subscribers. This will land with you because I'm going to tell you about my current business, the one that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and how I fell into that simply by doing it myself. So I spent 25 years in corporate America before I was able to finally break out of it. And it was the hardest thing I had ever done. During a 14-year period, I had tried and given up on 26 different side hustles. Yes, that is a real number. I was a marketer's dream. Anything that came across my feed, I was willing to try it out because I wanted out of my situation so badly. And my situation was I was flying 100,000 miles per year and I was away from my family and watching my son grow up on FaceTime. And I knew I had more in me. I knew I had more capability. And I knew that I wanted to start my own business because I saw the path that I was going on and it just led to more time away and more misery. But I was so stuck and I didn't know what to do. And my big inflated ego did not allow me to receive any type of help. I just tried to do it on my own. So at the end of 2019, I had what I refer to as the end of the rope moment. Like I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I made a decision that I was no longer going to do this on my own, and I was not going to let fear run the show. And I'm going to give you the very short version of this because this is about you and how you can take what you already know how to do and build a business around it. I, like a lot of people, wanted to get into real estate. I saw a huge opportunity. I had been studying it for years, but I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't gain any traction. I was doing everything that a real estate professional was doing, an investor, not an agent, but I wasn't making any moves. I wasn't actually doing the stuff that would actually get me deals until I did this one thing, which was I found people that had already done it, that had a proven system and could coach me through it. So with a lot of reservations, a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, and a lot of skepticism, I signed up. I took the leap. This was in December of 2019. The very next day, I made my first ever phone call, cold call to a seller. And that was terrifying. Even though I had been cold calling people in my job, my sales career, for 25 years. Looking back at that now, it was something that I was good at. That's why I succeeded in real estate, is because I was comfortable on the phone. It was just terrifying in a brand new environment because I had never done it with that particular situation, cold calling sellers who I didn't know anything about. I got used to that. I got comfortable with that. So my ability to sell in my job was the thing that got me out of my job, not real estate. It was because I had the ability to pick the phone up and call people and do it over and over again. Lead generation. That's why I won, not because of the business that I picked. So many of you are looking for like the perfect business, and you need to know with certainty that this is going to work. I've been online since 2019, and there are two things that are certain, and I will give them to you right now. And nobody will ever tell you this because it does not sell. You will want to quit multiple times. I guarantee it. Second guarantee is that this will not be as hard as you think it will be. We make it out to be a way bigger deal in our head. The moment I stepped in that mastermind room, I was like, oh my goodness, everyone's just like me. They're all scared. They all don't know what to do. And they all are trying to do the same thing, which was a huge momentum boost for me because, okay, now I'm around other people who I get to talk about this with. It's a lonely world when you are working a 9 to 5 and doing it by yourself and you don't have other people who you can talk about your business with. The second that you have that, it feels more real, more doable. So fast forward from the end of 2019 to the time I made my first call, which was December 20th, 2019. 9 months later, I was out of my corporate job for good. I have not looked back. 18 months after that, I was able to 2.5 times my income, something I never thought was possible or that I was even deserving of. Here's the thing I want to tell you. Old habits die hard. That business worked really, really well until it didn't. I blew the whole thing up because my ego could not help itself. And as I started having more success, I started doing more things. Let's do some coaching. Let's start a podcast. Let's start a YouTube channel. Let's do consulting. Let's sell for the mastermind. Like I was just doing all these different things and it all blew up on my face. And that movie has replayed itself so many times, which is why I just don't even go to that theater anymore. I focus on one thing. Here's the part that I'm really grateful for, which is if I didn't go through that experience, I would not be where I am right now. Because through the entire process of going through the real estate business, I learned about the online business. I learned about leads. I learned about marketing. I learned about funnels. I learned about CRMs. I learned how to coach people. I learned about feedback. I learned all these different things as I was involved in watching this happen, which I still use today in my own coaching business. I started a YouTube channel over 4 years ago to promote my coaching business. I had a podcast and I was posting a bunch of random stuff. I was just out there doing it. I had built audiences on all of the major platforms. Without knowing it, I was acquiring all these different skills. And what I really want you to pay attention to, because I can guarantee you the thing that you start today will not be what you end up with. And I'm living proof. And there are so many examples of people who started a business and ended up with something else. And they'll tell you that. The move is to get out there and start, not to plan perfectly. I had no perfect plan. Planning is nothing more than hiding. If that's things a little bit, it's probably because you know that it's true. When I was having success with the real estate business, people started asking me how I did it. At the time, I didn't know it, but those were buying questions. When people ask you how you did something, that's a signal that they recognize that what you have done or what you're doing is something that is of value to them and they want to learn how. So pay attention to those signs because that is ultimately what got me into the coaching business was people were asking me the same thing over and over. I'm like, I'm going to help people with this. I'm going to help other corporate professionals get into business. That was my first coaching gig and I was able to get clients. As a result of going through all of that, I learned what people really were stuck on and they were stuck on the too many ideas and all of the mindset blocks like imposter syndrome and analysis paralysis and overthinking and all of those things. And I literally started a paid school community to cover that one thing because I knew from personal experience and from coaching other people that the idea of starting a business was impossible until they could get out of their own way. So once I helped them do that, then they were able to start the business. Now they got to stick with the business, which is a whole nother level of service, which is where accountability comes in. Again, I go back to the mastermind. I only stuck with it because I had other people that were pushing me. Why was it different from the 26 other attempts? It was because there was coaching, there was immediate feedback, there were other people doing it, and I was motivated to the moon to get out of my situation, which I believe needs to be true for you as well. If you're not really motivated to get out of your current situation, then you're not going to try as hard. And no coach can help you with that. That is a decision that you have to make on your own. Here's what I want you to think about. When I was doing all of that mindset work and that coaching work and helping people with their businesses, I was acquiring all these skills. Again, I was getting better at YouTube. I was learning about the school platform, which I've been on for over 2 years now. And I want you to remember those two things, because that's not how I started. Again, I started in the real estate business, and now I'm here helping people who have established YouTube channels and audiences, bring them to a paid school community and continue to build and nurture their email list. Very, very simple business. No possible way I could have seen that 6.5 years ago. It happened because I got good at YouTube and I learned the school platform, and I've always been good at sales, but I learned how to put all this together. So now I can go to someone who has the ability to create attention with their YouTube channel, but just needs help with the monetization part, the commercial layer. If I didn't start the real estate business, no way I could help those people. And here's why that should give you hope. The 6.5 years have literally flown by. And I'm so glad I made the decision to take the leap, because if I didn't, I would still be standing on the edge of the bridge thinking about it and being afraid to fail and being afraid of how people would perceive me. And I can tell you that I don't have any of those fears anymore. They do go away. I did not walk into this feeling confident that I was going to become a YouTuber. The first YouTube video that I ever made, which is still on my channel, by the way, is pretty not good. And that's how it's supposed to be. Now I'm much more comfortable in front of the camera. I know what works. I'm still learning, and I figured something out. I figured out how to get traffic from this amazing platform, YouTube, and get them into my paid products, my paid school communities, and while also building my email list. So I want to give you just a few examples of how my story and how my ability from my corporate job led me here, or led me to have success. I was good at sales, right? So I wasn't afraid of the phone. I was good with strangers. I was okay with that. So I was able to call people on the phone when everyone else was scared to call. That's why I wanted real estate, not because I chose real estate. Everyone thinks it's the business. It has nothing to do with the idea. I could have picked anything and I would have won if I had followed all of those core steps, which is pick something that you're interested in, a relevant niche, get around people that can help you do it, show up, do the work, and focus on one thing. Like that would be the best advice that I would give to anyone. If you can do that, you can pretty much make any business win. Again, as long as it's a relevant niche that's in demand. If you are a musician, and I work with several of them, musicians perform live. They know how to hold a room. So they have the presence. They're comfortable being watched. That's why they make good YouTube content, right? And they can be in front of a community that keeps attention because they're not scared, because they're on stage and they know how to do that. And most of them are teaching, right? They're teaching the instrument. So they can break down very complex things down to stuff that's really, really simple. And that's what sells. People don't do stuff because it's hard, because it's overwhelming, because I could never do that. And that's what people pay for. It's like, can you make this thing that seems really, really impossible and complex and difficult for me simple? And yes, you can do that. And when you do that and you combine the attention that you get from your YouTube channel and you direct them to like, hey, I've got a community where I help you do this, and it's in a simple format, that's the stuff that people pay for, right? Is the simplicity of it, the steps that are in order, and also learning from you, the person who they are watching on the YouTube channel, who they trust. They want to be closer to you. They also want to be around other people who are like them, who are going through the same thing, who also want to learn the same exact thing. Because again, if you remember in the beginning of the video, I said it's a lonely world. So if somebody is learning an instrument, learning how to play bass, and they're not around anyone else who is learning the same thing, the likelihood that they give up is very high. So a room with other people who are doing the same thing is very valuable to them, maybe even more valuable than you. They will come for you. They will stay for each other. That's why community is so hot right now. Let's say you're a teacher, 20, 30 years, running a classroom every single day. That directly translates to a community. You have the ability to run the community because you can hold a room full of people. As a teacher, you're doing things like lesson planning, you're grading, you're giving feedback, you're taking complex ideas, breaking them down and making them simpler. And I personally think that teachers, because of their ability to stand in front of a room and speak, would be great at content. This is why teachers are good at online business, is because they have the marketing thing down, because they're not afraid, and they know how to direct people. They know how to coach people. Teachers make great coaches. Let's say that you're a tradesperson, you're a contractor, you're an electrician, you work with your hands. Immediate skills from that world that would translate to an online business, and this is going to be eye-opening for you, is you can diagnose, right? You can go to a job site and you could diagnose stuff and you could solve problems fast, right? You have that ability. You can become a consultant. Content that solves problems that other people don't know how to do. The other immediate skill that comes to mind is putting offers together, like quoting a job, explaining it to the customer. That's pricing, that's earning trust, like that's sales. Making offers and selling is something that people have a hard time with, right? Like that's one of the most important things in business is you have to put offers together and you have to learn how to sell. I can tell you that as a coach, that is one of the things most people get stuck on is how do I sell without becoming a different person, without sounding like a pitch person, without sounding salesy, and what do I even offer? There are tons of examples on what I'm talking about right now. I'm not going to go through all of them. If you take one thing away from this video, I want it to be this. The business that you start today is not the one that you will end up with. You already have skills that you have acquired over decades of experience that you could apply to a business right now today. You're just not looking at it. You can't see it. When you start the business, and stop thinking about it and just go do it. I'm giving you permission to start the thing and start messy because the only person who really cares is you. That's it. And you're worried about what other people may or may not say. And even if you have the perfect business, which doesn't exist, or you have like the perfect start, people are still going to say stuff. You can't prevent that from happening. As you acquire skills from doing the business and you learn new things, the forever business or the retirement business, the certainty that you're looking for will eventually appear because you chose to start today, except scroll to the next video, watch the next podcast, download the next lead magnet, or opt into the next thing. I'm not even going to tell you to watch the next video that comes up on the screen. I want you to go and do the thing and start the thing and stick with it long enough to where you can see some wins. Like, hey, this could potentially work, or I know how to get leads. I can create content. I can get attention. I can get someone to pay me online. If you haven't made $1 online yet, and you're looking at how do I make 10 grand in 90 days, please shut that off forever. Like, what are you doing? Go make $100 first, then worry about that. Prove to yourself that you can do this. And that first $100 or that first $50, whatever it is that you make, will feel way better than the 10 grand. You'll just have to take my word on that. Thanks for watching.